Hopefully you followed the first video, and if you have, it's time to glue your body together. Spread some glue out on both sides and clamp the back and the front together at the same time. Once that's dry, take it out of the clamps and trim away excess timber on the bandsaw to make sure you don't have too much sanding to do. Use the straight face of the linisher to clean up any convex surfaces and the end to clean up any concave surfaces. If you have any tighter radiuses to sand, you're going to have to use a spindle sander or do it by hand. Finish off the edge with some fine grit sandpaper and a block. The next stage is marking out where your strings are going to go. Make sure you've got parallel lines and you've left enough of a gap that the knocker's not going to hit more than one string at the same time. There'll be quite a lot of string tension on these screws, so they need to be screwed into solid timber underneath. The wall thickness of your body is 20mm, so if you put a mark 10mm in from the edge, that's going to locate you directly in the centre of that wall. Before you take this to the drill press, centre punch each of those marks. To attach the strings, I'm using brass screws that have had a small hole drilled into them. Select the correct size drill bit for a pilot hole and then get yourself set up on the drill press. On the side of the door harp, put a small pencil mark showing the depth of the thread. Then adjust the drill press so it stops at this point. Then drill all 6 of your holes. At this point we want to prepare for varnishing, so do a final sand on the top with some fine sandpaper to smooth everything out and slightly round over the corners. I'm finishing my door harp with a varnish, but you can use oil or shellac or whatever you have available. Attaching the guitar strings can be a little bit tricky. Screw the screws down on the left hand side all the way down till their thread has disappeared. On the right hand side, only screw them down halfway. Cut a length of guitar string so you have about an inch excess on each side. Poke the wire into the hole on the left hand screw and wrap the long end of the wire around the screw 3 times in a clockwise direction. Then poke the wire in the right hand side whilst maintaining tension. At this point there should be a fair bit of slack in the wire. This slackness will be taken up by tightening the screw. As you tighten it, keep your finger on the string to keep up the tension. Also make sure the string wraps around near the head of the screw, so you have an even string height. As the string gets tight, give it a little pluck so you can hear the sound it's generating. Do the same to the other 2 strings, and be patient because it can take a little while to get all the strings to the right height. Now to make your knockers. It's not all that safe to cut dowel in a bandsaw, so I've made up a little jig for it. Drill a hole the same size as your dowel in a block as shown, and put a mark of 20mm for the length of your dowel. Set up the fence of the bandsaw and line it up with the mark that you've just drawn. Then cut your jig till it's past the dowel and pull it back out. Push the dowel through to get yourself set up for the next cut. Then go through that same process for the next 2 dowel cuts. On a sanding board, sand all the flat faces of the knockers until they're smooth. Then round over the edges as shown. Find some brass hooks and eyelets for the rest of your assembly, and also get the right size drill bit for each pilot hole. Put a small mark where you want to attach the hooks. Once again, make sure everything's symmetrical and parallel. Not all drill presses can hold a small drill bit, so I'm using a cordless drill. If you're using a cordless drill, make sure you hold the drill vertical when drilling the pilot holes. Now you can screw in the hooks by hand. As best you can, find the centre of the dowel and put a small pencil mark there. Then drill a small pilot hole in each one of the knockers. Now screw an eyelet into each of the knockers and tie a length of fishing line onto each one of them. Decide which hook you want to line up with each string, and then tie the other end of the string onto the hook, making sure that the knocker hits directly in the centre of the string. You can tell if you've done this right if the knocker bounces off the string smoothly. Do the same thing for the other two knockers, and your door harp's pretty much complete. Grab some scissors and cut off the excess fishing line. Then put a hole in the back for hanging your complete door harp on the wall.